Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365, and in today's video, I'm going to go over 10 4K discs that definitely need a do-over. If you're a 4K collector, it kind of comes with I would say, expectation that you're getting the best possible version of a film on a physical format. So picture is supposed to be a lot better. Audio, in many cases, you get an upgraded Atmos or DTSX track. There are a lot of things that we as collectors expect in picking up a 4K disc. So when a studio or label puts out a movie on 4K that just doesn't quite measure up, you're kind of left wondering why, what happened, and what went wrong. I wish we lived in a world where none of this happened, or maybe just at the very least one studio is guilty of something, of putting out a substandard disc. You can kind of, all right, just stay away from them. But really, all the major labels, all the major studios have had a bad day disc-wise. And I just thought I would go over 10 movies that are currently out on 4K that definitely could use a redo. Of course, with a list like this, it is very subjective. Something I mentioned on my list, you may think is the greatest 4K ever, but that's the beauty of these lists. It's mine. Yours, you can definitely write in the comments down below what you think needs a new 4K upgrade, and you felt that the existing 4K is just pretty substandard or downright terrible. So I'm going to begin my list with, of course, the big elephant in the room, basically the original 4K that definitely met with some criticism, and I think deservedly so. And I'm not going to drag it on throughout the video. We all know what it is. We probably all have it on our own list. But yes, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This one needs a do-over really, really bad. If you're not familiar with it, the existing 4K looks very, let's just say, too smooth. I mean, grain is all but eliminated because they used the master from the 3D version to convert to 4K. And that's pretty much why what we have is what we have. And they've re-released this one many times, but they've never gone back from the drawing board to start from scratch. This is something that James Cameron could easily do. And who knows, it might actually happen. He's kind of in the middle of, I would say, restorations for his earlier films. There's, of course, The Abyss, True Lies, supposedly Aliens is coming to 4K, Titanic. And if rumors hold true, Terminator, the original, is going to come out on 4K next year. So why not just, come on, let's get Terminator 2 the proper 4K it deserves. Just take that 3D remaster, throw it in the trash, and let's see something really good. I know this film has so much potential, but it's anybody's guess if and when this will happen. But yes, Terminator 2 is the obvious one, and of course it'll be on my list. When you think of a mod title, you don't really get the big warm and fuzzies as far as potential releases go. In fact, you have a lot of times mod is looked down upon. I don't know, I don't agree with that sentiment, but it is something that a lot of people in the community feel. So when you put out a movie like, let's say, the recent release of Black Phone on 4K, a mod title, and it turned out really bad, yeah, it's not helping its cause any as far as, mod and association with it. Yeah, unfortunately, Scott Derrickson's film on 4K is, at least to me, not a good looking transfer. For starters, the HDR is not even HDR. It doesn't even hit that minimum requirement nit-wise to hit that HDR level. And there's just way too much compression and blockiness and dark. I mean, this movie is very dark. And you got a lot of just noise, and it just does not look good in dimly lit interiors. Now, overseas, the Turbine, I believe, put out a 4K of their own, which I believe they did their own pass-through with the transfer, and it also has Dolby Vision. Supposedly, that's better. I don't have my copy at all to do a comparison, but yeah, unfortunately, for here in the States, Black Phone on 4K is just not good. I don't think they're ever going to redo this one. It's just one of those things. But for me personally, I would like to see it done a little bit better. And maybe I will even import the Turbine version. So yeah, Black Phone on 4K, it needs a new edition, but I don't really see that happening. Classic 80s comedies are some of my favorites. I love going back to them. And then you have a studio like Paramount, who, let's just call it what it is. They're a little bit suspect, and their track history on quality 4K discs, at least for catalog titles, is not very good. And unfortunately, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is horrible on 4K. This one made me really sad to see it because it is not good. Not only do you have a clumsily implemented DNR grading, it's just inconsistent. It's, smooth in one scene. It's just, fine the next, but it's just not good. And overall, I think the transfer just needed a little bit more TLC. It doesn't look great. But yeah, Paramount, they love their DNR, and sometimes they get a little bit heavy-handed with it, and they will be more than one title on this list. But yeah, this one, I would love to see a complete remaster, redo, from the ground up, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It deserves so much better than what we got on the initial 4K. Now, this next title is one of those urban legends as to why the transfer turned out the way it did. I believe it's because Oliver Stone just liked the look of it. I'm talking about Platoon on 4K, released by Shout Factory. I can't really blame Shout Factory. They really didn't have much to do with the actual transfer. But when you get the mastering, and it is just a DNR blanket mess from start to finish, it just does not look good. And once again, I've heard rumors. I mean, whether, Stone prefers it this way, or maybe it was just an old master or something. But whatever it is, it does not look good on 4K. It is one I would actively avoid. Just get your hands on the old Blu-ray. That I certainly did. But yeah, this one I feel really needs a second edition, hopefully properly graded, restored, and get rid of that ugly DNR. So Platoon on 4K, unfortunately, is something I would avoid. This next one is not so much a single film. It is several films, but it speaks more towards the director. I'm talking about George Lucas, and at the very least, his original Star Wars trilogy. Now, the whole reason I decided to put this whole video together was because of my recent review of American Graffiti, which, unfortunately, the DNR on this one makes that one just not good looking. It does not look filmic at all. And the same could be said for the Star Wars trilogy. It's not as egregious in that one. But I would like just a little bit more, I would say, just fine-tune that one. But really why it's on this list is because we all want the original trilogy unaltered, and people would buy this in droves. I think really, you're always going to have the 4Ks that are out there now. They're not going anywhere. So why not give diehard fans like myself, give them the original unaltered trilogy? And once again, George Lucas is probably never going to let that happen, at least when he's alive. But the whole reason I would put this on this list is because people would love it. I'm a firm believer of maintaining and preserving original cinema history. And his kind of, I would say, tendency to always alter his films after the fact it goes against that, in my opinion. So yeah, unaltered Star Wars films on 4K, I think many of us would get that in a heartbeat. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, but I would love to see all those films get the 4K they deserve, nice meaty grain, unaltered special effects. So who knows if this will ever happen, but these definitely deserve a redo. Once again, Paramount is a studio that just loves the DNR. Who knows why, but I found over the last year or so that this next example, I really wish this one, they would have just left off the DNR. It would have been such a better presentation. But Fatal Attraction, it's a very, I don't know, it's a very entertaining thriller. But when you watch it on 4K and the DNR is just hitting you in the face, it does not look good. I would say between that and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Fatal Attraction is a little bit worse with the DNR, but it's still not a good transfer at all. Really, it's just not great. I don't know. Once again, I love when movies just have that nice filmic look, and this just does not have it. It's just very waxy with their characters. But yeah, Fatal Attraction from Paramount. I seriously could do a whole list of Paramount titles that could be on this list, but I'll leave it at Fatal Attraction here. And yeah, I don't know, maybe one day we will see a redo of this title. The next title that I would love to see get a redo on 4K, and it just amazes me that it hasn't at this point. Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Now look, at its core, the 4K is not terrible. It's a very passable experience, but It also brings with it a lot of problems from old releases, like haloing, and just there's just imperfections in the source. I think this one deserves a full remaster from the ground up. And I could just imagine the possibilities here. And it's just amazing to me that this has not even been really done in recent history. I mean, Jurassic Park is a very iconic film, and to kind of see it just get a standard, just almost a cut and paste from the Blu-ray, it's a little disappointing. I mean, yeah, you get the little bump with HDR, it's understandable, but I would love to see this one get a full workover on the picture. Audio is fine. You may want to tweak that for audiophiles to really sink their teeth into. But for me, the picture could definitely use some TLC. And out of all the titles on this one could possibly happen. Probably within the next 5 years or so. I have no information based off that, but it's just a feeling that one day Jurassic Park on 4K will get a proper transfer, and I think a lot of us would be happy with that. There are certain studios that I feel have a very high standard when it comes to their 4K releases, and even they have a bad day. In this particular instance, I'm talking about Warner Brothers' release of The Goonies. I was very excited for this to come to 4K. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And when we got our hands on it, let's just say I was a little shocked with how much DNR was on this one. And why does it even need to be in this? This was very puzzling. I would love to hear the explanation as to whoever approved the transfer went this route, because I don't feel it ever needed it. I didn't feel that there was anything in previous releases that just said, hey, we need to smooth this out. We need to kind of eliminate grain. I don't know. This is a movie that was just vastly disappointing on 4K. It deserves a lot better because it is a classic adventure film. And if you go back and watch it, it really holds up. It's really a fun movie, but let's get a good 4K, get rid of the DNR. It doesn't need to be there. So I don't know if we'll ever see it, at least in my lifetime, but the Goonies on 4K would absolutely benefit for a redo. Occasionally when a movie comes out on 4K, and this was even spoken about on Blu-ray, when Blu-ray was kind of started to overlap with digital releases. When a movie would get released, they would put the theatrical edition on the disc, but then the extended cut or, whatever, only available on digital. So in the case of Dr. Sleep on 4K, let me just start by saying that the actual 4K is phenomenal. The 4K disc is, I would say, it's a demo-worthy presentation. But why it's on this list and why I would love to see it get a volume 2 is because at the end of the day, I am a physical media collector and I would love a physical disc of the director's cut of the film because it is so much better than the theatrical edition. That's really the only reason I put it on this list. But, it doesn't say everything has to be a DNR disaster or a bad transfer. No, this one already has a phenomenal 4K, but I would just, me personally, want a physical release. So yeah, Dr. Sleep on 4K, the director's cut, is something I would love to see get a redo. So for my last pick of a 4K that desperately needs a redo, and it is not a single film, it is once again part of a series. I'm talking about Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean. Woof. You literally it's in the title, Caribbean. What springs to your mind? Blue skies, nice water, beautiful tropical setting. Why does the entire, at least the first 3 or 4 movies, look like everything's in sunglass mode? I don't know. This is probably one of the most perplexing just transfers on this entire list because these movies do not look good. I am shocked that we got these films on 4K at all, but even more so that the transfers just look, I'm sorry, but they look like garbage. These movies deserve a lot better. I know they're cheesy, but they're fun, and I like to revisit them from time to time, but on 4K, no. Stick to your Blu-rays. If any film series needed a from the ground up restoration or remastering or grading, the Pirates films are definitely on this list. They look terrible on 4K. Who knows what the people over at Disney were thinking with this, but yeah, I would vote 100% that these definitely need a redo and sooner rather than later. So those are 10 movies that I would love to see get a do-over on 4K. Now it's your turn in the comments section below to let me know what you personally would put on the list. And before you start writing, hey, why didn't you include this? Why didn't you include that? Keep in mind that there are so many titles that I think definitely use a 4K redo, and I may do another video, probably including the titles you are thinking of that I didn't include here. So yeah, 4K is a great format, but it's not perfect, and a lot of it has to do with whether studio apathy or label apathy. Who knows really what, at the end of the day, what the reasons are, but there's plenty of content down the line for additional videos. So, well, once again, sound off down below what you would include in your personal list. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.